You got to get over some things. You got to get over some emotions.
Oh,
and they're natural
Maury.
emotions now.
Hello and welcome back to the Trash TV Review, and that's the podcast we're running here. My name is Dwight Gillespie. I am your host. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, and by all means share it with your friends. I am the author of this book, which is called Price Tags. It's available online at barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com. It's a memoir. It centers around living a really tough life and learning to deal with it and lead a better life through adversity. Growing up with alcoholic parents, my father killed himself when I was younger. I had a beautiful child who died in a car accident, and we lost the baby that my wife was pregnant with 6 weeks later. So it's what this is about. It's also about not overcoming, because I'll be an addict forever. I am in recovery, but dealing with heroin addiction. So anyway, again, it's available online. And what we do here at Trash TV Review is we review trash TV. And that can mean anything from Steve Wilkos in The Maury Show to Dr. Phil, or even TikTok videos that we take at random here. So anyway, without further ado, this is from The Maury Show. I was 13 and pregnant with 2 possible baby daddies, from The Maury Show, which is very sad right there. And I got to be honest with you, just the title alone, my heart goes out to this child, to be 13 and pregnant with 2 possible fathers. And Lord knows this, and again, I'm big on it. This child never had a father in her life. And you can tell, 13 years old, and she's got 2 possible, not 1, but 2. It's not like she had a boyfriend and they did some stuff they didn't really understand. This girl wasn't sure, apparently from the title anyway, who the father was. So let's take a look. It's not a long video. It's just about 4 minutes. But I like the DNA stuff to see how it turns out. And we'll go ahead. Let's take a look.
Everybody welcomes 16-year-old Maya and
she's
her mom
16.
Kaya to the Maury.
Cute girl. Not that matters, right? I guess I say that a lot, but whatever.
Believe it or not, we have to talk about Maya when she was 13.
13.
And she and her boyfriend at the time, Tristan, had just broken up. So feeling rejected, Maya...
And look at this kid. Now, Tristan looks like he's about, 14, 15 years old. And this kid looks like a deer caught in the headlights. Like, oh, my God, I hope this is not my kid. And God bless him. God bless him, man. Just to be that young and have to have that kind of stuff hanging over you.
Went to a party and slept with another classmate.
Yeah.
Now, soon after that, Maya and Kaya were shocked to find out that Maya was pregnant with their daughter, Leonie.
Shocked.
Look at her, how cute she is. But
Beautiful
today,
child.
Maya believes Tristan is Leonie's father.
Believes
but
or
Tristan
hopes.
and his mom, Tracy, flat out deny this claim.
Tracy.
You all were first loves, right?
Yeah.
Were you surprised that she went with another guy?
Yeah, I was surprised she went with another guy, Maury. I mean...
Listen to how upset this kid is. I was going to say boy, because he is. He's a boy. He's a child. This is a child. Yeah, I was upset. Because that's what you do when you're in high school and your girl, kisses. Usually it's like, oh, she kissed another guy. She didn't kiss another guy. She f***ed another guy at 13 years old. And first of all, she's at a party where people are having sex or drinking and having sex at 13 years old, which tells you, where's dad? Where's this? Anyway.
That's my FL. We've been rocking
My
with each other.
FL. What does that mean? What does FL mean? Friend for life, maybe? FL. That's my FL. First love. First love. All right. Okay. All right. We got it. We on it. That's my FL. And it's not going to be his LL with last love. We know that, right? It's just where this is going. He's about to find out if he or another boy fathered Maya's 2-year-old daughter, Leonie.
Ever. Like, she's all I ever known. Like, we talked about getting married. We talked about having our first kid together. Right. We talked about...
At 13, they talked about getting married and having their first kid together. And there was no parental supervision to say, shut up, don't talk about that, you're going to school. Nobody. Or not in that line, but to advise them that this might not be the best course of action. You're talking about getting married and having kids at 13 years old, setting up house, because they're so longing for love, right? They didn't get any of this that they needed at home. So we're going to make our own. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. We're going to lead this life. I tell the story in my book, actually, about, when I was a kid and my girlfriend got pregnant, right? Because I didn't have any parental supervision either. And, and in my head, like I was a horrible alcoholic. I was 17 years old, 18 years old, and a horrible alcoholic. And I wanted to have the kid. And my girlfriend was a year younger than me. And she was smart. She was with me. She couldn't be that smart, right? But she was book smart. And, she had a full scholarship to university. So and my mother was the one who says, we're not having this, right? Because my mother was a mess. My father had just killed himself. My mother was drinking real heavy. And, but in my head, this was going to be like the fix. Like, we're going to have a baby. We're going to fix all this. This will bring us together. And look, I have to get into it, but, I don't know what kind of life that child would have had because this is just a mess. This is a mess, and these kids are in for a really, this is like 2 strikes. You come up to bat, you got 2 strikes already. Here we go.
Everything. And then you're gonna stab me in the back, break up with me, and go sleep with another dude?
In one day.
And was she kind of back and forth?
And look at her. Like, I feel for this young girl, right? Look at her. She's hurt. She didn't want to hurt this kid, but she's got so much going on up in her own head. Like, she wasn't out to hurt him. She was just having a good time and trying to find love in all the wrong places. It's just such a shame. And what kind of life is this poor baby? Her child, her offspring. Her mother's 13 years old when she had her, right? And she had no supervision. So what makes you think that this child's going to have a supervision? I knew a woman, and I'm not kidding, right? I knew this woman. She had a baby at 13. Her daughter had a baby at 13, and her daughter had a baby at 13. Okay? Now, you do the math. At 39 years old, this woman was a grandmother or a great-grandmother. She was a great-grandmother. I know she was a great-grandmother by the time she was 49 years old. She was a great-grandmother at 49 years old. And you say, oh my God, because, well, it stands to reason, right? Because nobody's got any parental guidance or supervision or anything like that. There's nobody there to say, this doesn't work. And when the next generation comes up, now, you're 13, you have a child. You're only 26 when your kid is 13. You're still a child. Like, especially in today's kid, 26 years old, you're still trying to find your way in the world. You got a 13-year-old child. You're not giving them the parental supervision that they need. You didn't have it. What do you know? You still don't know anything about life. So they go ahead and have a kid. And at 39, you're a grandmother. At 49, 50, you're a great grandmother. It's just a horrible, horrible cycle to get trapped in.
Yeah, she's always been back and forth because she don't know.
And I told you that, Tristan. When we was on the phone,
but if you would have listened to me, when I told you not to go to the party,
right?
Then you wouldn't even be there.
These are children, and they're fighting like children. That's the way children fight. And so they're screaming because it's all emotion. There's no logic behind it. There's no thought behind it. It's all, you should have died. I told you not to go to that party, which is probably why she went. I show him, because that's what children do. Children are spiteful. Children do things out of emotion. And and these children, they're so hurt. They're so hurt, and you can see it. You want to hug these kids, right? Like I saw some of the comments below, and they were all like, "Oh, poor Tristan," and they were dogging this poor young girl right here. Why? This child needs just as much love as he does, maybe more, right? Because if she can't find the father of this baby, if it's not Tristan, then what? You got to feel for this child. Like I do. I have compassion and empathy for this poor child. I want to hug her. I want to say, baby, it's okay. Like, we could get through this together. And somebody needs to be there. Now, her mother wasn't there for her. Maybe she tried. I don't know. She's probably working 2 jobs to make ends meet or whatever. But obviously, she's not as involved in her daughter's life as she needs to be. Otherwise, this wouldn't be happening, right? Here we go.
I was 13 years old. I didn't belong to nobody. I was 13.
I was 13. I didn't belong to nobody. You hear that? I was 13. I didn't belong to nobody, but you did. You should have belonged to your mother. You should have belonged to your parents, right? Who say, where are you going? Look, my second wife, her mother, I love her mother, right? Wonderful woman. And this one, she's this big, little Puerto Rican woman, right? Short and round. But that woman was scary, right? And she'd tell me stories, and my ex-wife would tell me stories. And I still love this woman because her mother, the questions, she was a great mom. She was a mom. And both of her daughters, she got 2 daughters, right? Both daughters, master's degrees, right? Both daughters finished their education, have very good jobs, great careers. And why? Because their mother was involved. And their father wasn't that involved in their life, right? Although he was there and he financially supported him. He didn't, anyway, that's a different story and that's their story. I'm not going to tell that. But she did. And she said, my ex-wife would tell me, and we still talk. My ex-wife and I are still very close. But we talk, and her mother was like, where are you going? Who are you going with? And it wasn't any of that bullshit. Oh, I'm going over to so-and-so's, Valine was her friend, right? I'm going to Valine's house. Let me talk to her parents. Her parents going to be there? I think so. Bullshit. Get her parents on the phone, and and no cell phones then, right? They get the phone, and she would have to speak to the parents. And this woman, my mother-in-law, if her daughters told her I'm going to such as she would surprise every now and again, not every time, but every now and again, she would show up and knock on the door and see what was going on. And why? Why? Because she didn't want her daughters getting knocked up at 13 years old. Now, they grew up in Bushwick, Brooklyn, back when it was Bushwick, Brooklyn. Now it's all these white kids that live out there that think they're living in the hood, right? And back then it was rough. I'm talking back in the 70s, right? And it was all heroin. And then after the heroin came in the crack, and after the crack came in the white people. But anyway, so it went through these transitions. And her mother got her out of Bushwick when my ex-wife was 14 years old. And her best friend came home, or 12 or 14. But her best friend was 14 and came home knocked up. And that's when her mother said, no, we out of here. This ain't, no. And they moved to a nice neighborhood over in Flushing in Queens, And that's how they got to Queens, because she said, I have to give my child every opportunity to succeed. And part of succeeding is making sure that your child doesn't get knocked up at 13 years old by an unknown source, especially. So let's keep watching. And here's mom crying. Mom's crying. The fuck you crying for? What are you crying? She's crying for herself because she's stuck raising this baby. She didn't want to raise her own. You think she wants to raise another one? And I'm not putting this woman down, but look, you need, and listen, and I say this because my mother-in-law, she worked. That woman worked constantly to take care of her daughters, to give them a good education. She sent them to private school, right? And she did this stuff, and she sacrificed for her children. Because she said, I brought them into this world. I owe them this. I owe my daughters this, right? And here you go. And she sure as hell wouldn't have been, getting knocked up at some party at 13 years old. Here we go.
But you talking about I don't be there. Well, who's the one that took her from Michigan in the first place?
I did, for a better life for my children. At the end of the day, I'm coming out. I take care of her and beyond.
A better life? What better life? What better life? No, wait. What better life? I took him from my a better life for her.
I'm her daddy. Now what
So you better get on a plane and do some work. Put in
All
some
right.
work.
So they ran away with the baby. They took the baby and left. A little like putting the cart before the horse there, don't you think? Here we go.
When it comes to 2-year-old Leonie, Tristan, you are not.
What a shame.
You know what, man? I'm done with you, man. You promised me. You promised me we was gonna have our first child together.
Right. You promised me at 13, you promised me we was going to have our first child together. Just the first. Now, the other ones are going to be optional. But we're going to do the first one together. See, these, I try to do these with some levity, but this one's really hard because I really feel for these children. And that's what they are, the children. They're children trying to lead adult lives, and they have no idea how it's done. And they're not being given any guidance whatsoever, And it's just such a shame. And you look at these kids; they're both good kids. They seem like nice kids. They're,
I don't even
and
care.
they want
you
love.
Stay here. I'm gone. I'm
Right.
done with you.
And he's mad. He's 60. He's mad. He's not the father. This kid should be rejoicing, like, oh, ooh, God, And he's mad. And why? Because he truly loved this girl. He truly had feeling and emotion for her, right? Because he probably isn't getting it at home. Now, here's his mother looking like she's, like a chromosome shy here, all that kind of just sitting and you're like, that's my boy, like, what the
Maya.
And here's poor Maya. How do you not feel for this child?
I knew it was another possibility.
Look, she got to be all tough, right? She going to give that.
And trust me. Tristan.
If you all want to, if you want to come back,
You
I'd be
poor
glad to
child.
have you come back. All right.
This isn't upbeat at all, is it?
Tristan,
Tristan.
I know you were hoping.
And look at this kid. Yeah, I feel for him too, man.
But let me tell you something. You're very young.
And he's going to carry this
You
pain
have
for a
great
long
life
time,
in front
man.
of you. You're
And
gonna
he will
be fine.
never trust a woman.
You'll have a
This is all
family.
done, man. This is
And
done.
it'll be the right one, okay?
No, Maury. She is my.
And neither one of them, you notice, neither one of them's father is
Her,
there,
Maya,
right?
Kaya, even Kaya. They're all my family. They're all I've ever known.
Right. Listen, now he's got his mom, but what does he say? These women are my family. They're all I've ever known. He doesn't count his mother in that. Maya and Kaya and the baby, I forget what the baby's name was, but anyway, but they're all he's ever known. Like you can see the pain, like he's losing everything with this. This is everything. At 16 years old, he's saying he's losing all the family he's ever known. What a shame.
As a young person, you got to get over some things. You got to get over some emotions.
Ah,
They're natural
Maury.
emotions to have.
This is one thing
Trust
I
your son.
don't know. Maury Povich was raised in a relatively privileged family. You know, his father was I think he was a sports guy. Like he did. I know he was at least a journalist of some sort, but I think it was sports. But he was raised in relative privilege, and he talks to these kids like he understands what they're going through. Like you don't know. You don't know, man. You know.
You got a good life ahead. We all have these great emotions when we're young.
Maury, you just don't understand.
He's right.
Probably don't.
He don't.
No, I know you don't. I know you don't.
Yeah.
I look that little girl in her eyes every day.
Right, and here's a girl, like, I still love you, baby.
got a
But
lot
if
of
you
work
stay
to do
with
with
me, I'm
these
going to
two young
cheat on you for the rest of your life. And it's always going to be like this. And we'll spit out 3 or 4 more kids, and hopefully 1 or 2 of them will be yours. Because this is all I know. I only know to get love with my body. That's how I know to get love. You see, I got to keep it clean because we're talking about kids here. Like, this is this is like over here, you know? These children, they're adolescents. She was 13 years old and doesn't know the father of her child at 13. I think it's reprehensible when a woman is 27 and can't narrow it down to 2 or 3 guys, right? Child was 13. She's a baby.
They got in a situation
Look at this
they
woman.
didn't want
She
them
cracks
to
me
get
up.
into, but now they're in it. And you got to have.
Welcome, everyone, to my official.
And that's it. And these kids are in for a very hard life. And these are things that we can learn. And listen, if you're a parent, you can learn to parent your children better. That's what this should tell us right here. This isn't just about living our lives better, right? Because these children are genuinely looking for love. They're genuinely looking for affection. And I think they genuinely love each other. But they don't know anything about love, how to get love, what love really is, and what it means to be in a committed relationship because they're just too freaking young. You know, these kids are still watching Disney Plus for crying out loud. Well, that in itself is another thing. We wouldn't even get into that. Some of the that goes on over there. But talk about sexualizing children, you know. But that's another video entirely. In fact, maybe that's something we'll do over on our other channel, which is the Change Your Life channel. And again, I think this fits in very well for people. If you have children, pay attention to what they're doing. Ask those questions as a parent. Where are you going? Who are you going with? Let me talk to their parents. You're going to a party. Is there going to be parental supervision? And what kind of supervision is that? And I got to tell you something real quick about my ex, right? Because, you know, I've been doing drugs. The first time I caught high because it was alcohol, but I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I drank a quart of Budweiser. Got up, right? Threw it up. An hour later, I threw it up all over the place, and I couldn't wait to do it again, right? Because for that hour, I lost all fear and inhibition. You know, I grew up in a house where I took a lot of. It was physical. It was a very physical house, and took a lot of verbal abuse, a lot of physical abuse, but for that hour, I was intoxicated. All that stuff was gone. So I turned to drugs at a very early age, whether it be alcohol. I found I did my first hit of acid. I was in 6th grade. So what are you then, 11? You know, in around there. Cocaine, you know, heroin. I did heroin for the first time at 14 years old. Like I did all those things. So that was my life. And really my mindset was I grew up right just outside of Patterson, New Jersey, a town called Halden. And everybody I knew did the same thing because, you know, water seeks its level. So it's not like I was going to hang out with the good, you know, A student kids. But anyway, I remember talking with my ex-wife about this stuff. And she says, and at the time, I don't know if it's changed, it probably hasn't, but she said, I saw pot once. I'm like, you saw pot once? She said, and it was actually one of her friends. She says, yeah, I was at my friend's house. I won't mention the friend, I guess. She says, I was at my friend's and their parents, they did pot. They did pot. And I always love when people say they did pot. And I watched her father roll up like a marijuana cigarette, right? That's what she called it. And I laughed. She's like, and I'm like, and I think that's fantastic, though. Like, that's why, look, we had our differences, but I knew as far as raising children, like this was the woman that I wanted to have kids with. See, because I thought about those things. Like, I wanted a good parent for my child because doesn't always work out with people, right? You can be in love. Today we're in love. Tomorrow we're in hate, whatever. But I wanted to know that I was definitely with someone who, no matter what happened between the two of us, that child was always going to be first and foremost for each of us. And let me tell you something. I'll tell you that this woman, to me, could be a and I was a and I'll be the first one to admit that. I can be an absolute you know, it was related and it went bad. But, and I'm going to tell you this, that woman was the best mother that any child could possibly hope for. She treated my son the way a child should be treated. She was on top of things. She tempered it with love and compassion and strictness. And like she had a great ability. She was a great mom. And I know with my son, the chances of this stuff ever happening to him would have been minimal because she was on top. And I give her all that credit, man. I was a good dad. I love my son. Like my son was my world. And when we lost him, it was devastating. And really that was the death knell to our relationship, was losing the kids. And I say kids, we lost my daughter, as I said, 6 weeks after my son passed, my daughter was in vitro and we lost her then. But anyway, she was a great mom. And that's what's important. And I thought about those things before we went and had a kid. We were together 8 years before we decided to have children. 8 years. And it was because we both wanted to make sure we weren't going to go into this half-cocked, like, who the f*** are we having kids with, right? And you watch these shows. I watched these, and I thought he was a good guy. What do you mean thought he was? He had no job. He's everything that moves. And you're sitting here laying down, making babies with him. Or, yeah, I knew he had 4 other kids by 3 other women who he wasn't paying child support for. But, again, go to my other channel. You can look it up. We did a video on a checklist before you commit, I think was the name of it, if I'm not mistaken. And what that was, I don't even know if I released it yet. I'll check. If not, I'll put it out tomorrow. All right. And this will be out long after that anyway. So I'm babbling now. But you can see it, and it's exactly what I said it is. Like, you go down a checklist, and this is especially for you women. It's for men too, but for women, I see these young women who think like they go ahead and they, when I was a kid, you made out with somebody, you got maybe these girls are like giving on first dates and stuff like that. And we talk about this, except we do it in much cleaner language over there. It's Change Your Life. And again, please like, subscribe, share with your friends by all means. Again, this was a heartbreaking one. This video wasn't as uplifting, but it was instrumental as a teaching tool, which is what I like to use these shows as. This is Trash TV Review. However, these are learning experiences that we can take. And I wish you all the best. I say be well. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. We are setting up a Patreon account as well. We'll have a lot of other stuff that's available, a lot of other video stuffs and the outtakes and all this other crap that we have before we edit it down. And I want to thank you again for being here. Thank you. My name is Dwight Gillespie. I'm your host. Be well. Have a good week. Bye now.